Hello and welcome to our video on our point slope applications. Yesterday we talked about y equals mx plus b, and we were given a starting point. They said start here, and here's your rate. Well, today it's going to look a little different in that you're not going to get that starting point. It's not really just going to be looking at you, or the rate's not going to be looking at you. You're going to be like, oh, I've got to go find that. So today you're going to kind of like be a detective. You got to go find what you don't know so that you can write your equation. But I do want to point out that we will still write all of our equations back into the form of y equals mx plus b. This will be your final form when I ask you to write a linear model. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to our first question. We see here we have a hydropower electricity generator. So the corresponding data for electricity generated by hydropower are 248 million megawatt hours in 2007 and 277 million megawatt hours in 2012. Wow, that was a lot of information. Let's look here. I know that 248 megawatt hours in 2007, those two numbers go together. Well, that's sort of like saying, you know what? That's an ordered pair. They're connected to each other. The 248 belongs to 2007. We want to be careful here. 2007, remember time is always x. So the 2007 is my x. That would leave 248 as my y. So I'm going to go ahead and just write that as an ordered pair. And then I'm going to look at my next set. It says, and 277 million megawatt hours in 2012. Well, those numbers are connected. That's my ordered pair. Remember, time is always x. So 2012 to 277. Well, now you have 2 points, and you can work with that. But I do want to remind you, think about graphing real quick. Just think in general. If I was to graph this, I would need to set up my intervals, right? Do you want to put 2007 on here and 2012? How are you going to set that up? What's that going to look like? And honestly, we typically don't. What we do is we think about time in years, and we're like, okay, we started in 2007. Well, that could be represented by 0. We started in 2007. 2012 from 2007 is 5 years away. So we have 2 coordinates now that have a 0 to 5. Will the others work? Yes, but you just have to remember this is the start. This is where we started our graph at. So I'm going to go ahead and look here, and I'm going to think 2 points. What do I find first? Slope. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract here. I'm going to take 277, my y2, minus my y1, minus 248, over, well, 5 minus 0, or even 2012 minus 2007. I'm going to still have the same x minus x. So what is 277 minus 248? Let's see here. I think that's 29 over, well, 5 minus 0 is 5. So 29 divided by 5 equals 5.8. So my rate looks like 5.8. Well, I want to write a linear model. So y equals mx plus b. So y equals my rate, well, it's right there, 5.8 x. And my b, well, where did it start? Where did we start? Way back here. We started in 2007, but where did we start? We started at 248 megawatt hours, or million megawatt hours. So again, be careful with just setting those up. Remember, time is x. That'll be the part that will kind of sometimes confuse you because those numbers are typically larger. So make sure that your time is your x, and then you use your numbers, your output as your y. So we're just going to look at like 2 more. So here in 1960, the world record for the men's mile was 3.91 minutes. Right here, I already see it. 1960 is attached to 3.91 minutes. And then in 1980, the record time was 3.81. Now I did this because you're going to be like, wait a second, they're both time. They're both, that's a date, that's minutes. Well, this year produced these minutes. This year was the driving force. So the 1960 is still going to be your X. So 1960 goes with 3.91. 1980 is going to go with 3.81. And again, we started here, so we could say that this is 0. And from 60 to 80, this is 20 years away. Now you have 2 points. Go ahead and pause the video and work it out and see what you come up with. All right, so remember we go y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. And you had to be careful here in that our time was actually decreasing. So our slope is a negative number. They're actually taking time off of their record time every year. And when we have our negative 0.1 and we divide that by 20, it looks like they are actually dropping 5 thousandths of a minute every year. So we can write an equation using this, y equals negative 0.005 5 thousandths x plus, well, where did it start? What was their first? Remember back here at the 1960s where we started? So that'd be plus 3.91. Now we take that information and we can use that to answer our next one. Use the model to estimate the record time in 2000 and predict the record time in 2020. Well, here you just have to stop and think. In 2000, how many years away in 2000 would I have been from 1960? Yeah, that's 40 years. Okay. In 2020, how far is that from 1960? Yeah, that's 60 years. So you're going to plug those numbers in for your X to find your time. So go ahead and try that. All right, so looking here, you can see that if we just plug that 40 into our equation for the year 2000, we find out that they could estimate that in 2000, the new record would be 3.71. And then in 2020, they would estimate that the record would be 3.61. So again, finding that rate, remember to be careful about where you started, and those years are going to be in time. So let's take a look at another one. This is going to look a little different, just to kind of make you kind of think a little further. To surf the internet for 15 minutes at an airport, it costs $4.05. Well, look, 15 minutes, it costs $4.05. 15, output, $4.05. Those go together. That's what it says. Those two happen to be together. For 40 minutes, it costs $5.80. So 40 and $5.80. There's your 2 points. Write and solve a linear equation to find the cost for surfing the web for 1 hour. With 2 points, remember, you're going to first find your rate. y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. And then we'll have to figure out what to do next. So pause, find your slope, and come back. All right, so here we have our slope, right? We found m. This is what m equals. That's our y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I've divided, so I have 0.07. So that's telling me that I am spending 7 cents per minute, right? But I need to figure out, if I want to get this into y equals mx plus b, I'm going to have to stop and think, where do I start? Now, this is not like the years where we kind of change up how the graph looks because years don't fit well on a timeline for that. So remember back to when we had 2 points, how we would set it up like y equals mx plus b. And since we know m, I could pick one of the xy coordinates to find b. That's what we're going to do here. So I'm just going to use the first one. And I'm going to set up an equation that says 4.05 equals, well, I know my slope, and I'm going to use the 15 from the coordinate, and then I'm going to solve for b. So 7 cents times 15 is $1.05. So $4.05 equals $1.05 plus b. So when I subtract that $5 from both sides, I now know that my B is going to equal, well, 4.05 minus 3, or 1.05 is going to equal 3, right? So here's my equation. Y equals 0.07x. My pen's doing weird things. Let's fix that real quick. Plus 3. Okay, now what? Find the cost for surfing the web for 1 hour. Okay, so I'm going to find the cost. Well, cost is always an output. Cost is always Y. So it tells me that I should know my X if this is what I'm looking for. If I'm looking for a cost, I should know what my input for X is. And it says 1 hour. Now be careful. Our slope was determined off of minutes. This is 0.07 per minute. So if I want to do minutes, I can't put 1 in. 1 hour is not going to work. Because then it's going to say that I only spent $3.07 for 1 minute, or for 1 hour, and that won't make sense. 15 minutes costs $4.05. So hopefully you're thinking, well, why don't we just put in 60? And that's exactly right. That's all we need to do is put in 60. So Y equals 0.07 times 60 plus 3. So Y equals, well, what is 7 cents times 60 minutes? $4.20. I got to add that $3 on to get started. So that means that it's going to cost me $7.20, because remember that 3 would go here. That'd be like $3 as a connection fee. So this is my connection fee. And here is my rate. I add those together and it's going to cost me $7.20 total. I know this video was a little long, but it's not an Edpuzzle. This is for your reference, and then you can finish up your breakout.